Hi, I'm just here doing the check over on your 500 Arctic Cat, the touring style with the back seat. Excuse me, get a little frog in my throat today. So what I'm going to do is I used my regular ATV service and check over list just to go over your bike with. If you wanted to have the whole service done, then I can do the other service items, but basically what the part of that work is checking over a bunch of different stuff on your bike to see what kind of condition it's in. So let's just go and see what I found. I'm just going to go down my list, no particular order, just more or less how I found things. Check your engine coolant, so you check that with underneath your rad cap, which is in that access panel right there. I did find that the coolant's down a bit in your radiator, so I will top that up. And after we have done the other work on your clutch stuff, then I will look at running the bike up to operating temperature and making sure your cooling fan is functioning the way it's supposed to. I'd also mention that I see a bit of debris in the corners, especially in the lower sides. It's hard to show you that on the camera. So sort of in this area and in this area, I find that stuff sort of builds up in the corners of radiators. That reduces the volume of air that flows through the rad, and it just makes it a little bit harder for the fan and the radiator and the engine coolant to keep the engine at the right temperature and stuff. So that may be why you're down a little bit on coolant. It might have been running a little hot. I don't know, but anyway, I will top that up, and you can clean your radiator out at your leisure. I usually just tell people to use some kind of biodegradable cleaner and soak them down really well, and then flush it out with a nice soft garden hose. No nozzles, no high pressure, because you can damage the aluminum in the radiator fins. Let's see. You have play in both your inner and your outer tie rod ends on the right side of the bike, more on the outside than on the inside. So we would replace those as a set. And then things start to go downhill from there. I like to prepare people. No surprises here. So I'm just going to go through each side of the front of the bike and just show you what you need to see. And a couple of things I'll just have to sort of verbalize them to you. You need upper and lower ball joints on both sides. You need new shocks on both sides. Part of the reason for the shock replacement is because they've been leaking, so basically they're not shocking anymore. The other part is that the eyelets and the mounts are beat out of both sides, so they're even if they weren't leaking, they're still not doing what they're supposed to. And part of their job, while it is to keep your ride nice and absorb those shock loads, what they also do is help protect parts like your ball joints from those same shock loads so that they last a bit longer, and bushings and mounts and all that sort of thing. You also have play in your lower control arm mounts on both sides. And I'm sure if I back the camera up, you can see the wiggly stuff that we have going on here. And you have the same thing going on in the upper one on the right side, on the right side, and on the left side of the bike. For the control arm, it's just the lower mount. The upper one's still okay, so you could go a bit longer with that. Sorry, I need to drink more water today. Let's see. So shocks, ball joints, control arm mounts. I'd already mentioned to you in another video the bad oil seal leak that you have on your front diff. On the right side, it's also been seeping on the left side too, so you need new seals on both sides. You would need new fluid. I did not pull the plug to check the level in it or anything like that, but part of that would be obviously changing the fluid in it. Right, friend. Just give me a moment here. On the back end of the bike, so that's the front, which is enough. On the back end of the bike, same problem with shocks. The eyelets, the mounts and the eyelets are beat out of them. If it was just the eyelets in any of them, and sometimes you can replace the mounts, sometimes you can't. But you still have the same problem in all of them, that the shocks are leaking and the shock body itself is toast. So I can get aftermarket shocks for these, I do believe. I have to look it up and be sure. So I don't want to get your hopes up. They usually cost a bit less than what the OEM ones do. Also on the back end, not nearly as severe as the front end. So it would be something that if you wanted to do a bit later, you could. You also do have wear in your lower mounts for your lower control arms. You have a little bit of wear happening, a little bit of play on this mount only on each side. So the other one in the front is okay for the uppers, but the rear ones have some play in them. Let's see. Got the diff seals, rear and rear control arm mounts. I noticed when I'm spinning the wheels here on the front end, your calipers seem to be sticking a little bit. You still have play and some room left in your brake pad, so if I can get that to turn a little bit, you can sort of see where the disc is. Maybe not. Maybe you saw that, maybe you didn't. I only have one hand. Anyway, what I would mention though is the calipers seem like they're sticking a little bit because it's a lot harder to turn that. You usually get some drag from your pads, but I'm seeing more on these than what I would normally see. So I'm thinking they need to be popped off and just check that all the sliding surfaces and stuff are operating the way they're supposed to be. So that would be another thing. Also with brake fluid is supposed to be changed out every 2 to 3 years because it does accumulate moisture in it just by the hot and the cold of use. So you heat, every time your brakes heat up, you create hot, and then you can get cold, and then you get moisture build up. And also that comes from the fact that your reservoir up on your handlebars is actually vented to atmosphere, because when you pull your brake lever and it pushes fluid down your system, the level goes down in your reservoir. Something has to go in on top, and the way they do that is that there's a rubber diaphragm in there, and air goes in on top of it, and those are not airtight, so you do get moisture into them after a while. So that would be another thing that you would have to, that has to be changed on. That would be the brake fluid if you wanted to do that. I'm sorry, I just got to stop and have a drink, just so you don't have to keep listening to me clear my throat. So just one moment, bear with me. Very sorry. All right, so I think that's all the big stuff that I found on it. Like I said, I haven't run the bike up the temp. Oh, one other thing, it also needs a new battery. The battery's not holding a charge. It's down to about 11.5 volts now, but the cold cranking amps on it are a bit low. So I'm going to try and charge it and see if I can save it for you. But I've got an idea that it needs a new battery. So usually the way I do those is I'll charge it, and then 2 or 3 days later, I'll load test it again, because I find sometimes if you check them too soon after you've charged them, it kind of it gives you a sort of a false reading. It'll say it's healthy, and then a few days later you check the same battery and the charge has gone down and the cold cranking amps have gone down, and you find out that it's no good. So that's kind of the way I do it when bikes are going to be here for a little bit. Last thing that I wanted to mention as far as my check over is something I think we'd already talked about as well, is that you also need a new muffler. That one has a nice big gaping hole starting in it on the bottom side. And of course, if you're using the bike in the woods, you don't want to have spots where hot pieces of metal or carbon or anything like that find their way out into the forest floor and start little fires behind you as you're driving. So that's something else that you probably want to get fixed up. I think that's about it, along with the other items with the clutches. If you want me to do an estimate for doing all the work, you already have a rough idea for the clutch work. I would have to sit down and do the pricing for doing this up far as being able to tell you how much it was going to cost to fix everything else up on the bike. Anyway, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.